Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in for another week of Trauma Recovery University. I'm your host, Athena Moberg, and tonight's topic is anger. And before I turn it over to my amazing co-host, Bobby Parrish, I just want to welcome you and do the proper public service announcements that I completely forgot last week, which is if you are listening on a podcast platform or watching on Roku TV, or you're watching at bit.ly/Trauma Recovery U, we want to thank you for being here. And as a thank you for being one of our loyal listeners or subscribers, we want to give you complimentary access to our entire library of downloadable resources, and that can be found at traumarecoveryuniversity.com. There is a tab that says Downloadables. If you click the Downloadables tab, you will be given instant access to our entire library of resources. They're one-page resources. There are 33 of them now, I believe, and 33 hours of video plus some bonuses. And that's just to say thank you, because we appreciate you for being a loyal listener or viewer. And if you're watching on Roku TV, we love you, we love you, we appreciate you. Thank you for all the 5-star ratings and positive feedback and emails and just everything.
I want to interrupt you here for a minute because I think this is the coolest thing. We had someone tell us yesterday, we put a thing up on Facebook about where you can connect with us. We had someone say, we had a woman tell us, and I won't tell her name because she didn't give us permission to, tell us that she starts her day every day by listening to an episode of Trauma Recovery University on Roku. Now, how cool is that?
That's amazing. I mean, if it wasn't for Roku TV, then wow, that's awesome. Yeah. I think I did actually see that post. That's super exciting. And with that being said, Bobby, I would like to say thank you to Rich Mom, Renee Christine. If you guys are not familiar with Renee Christine and you are an entrepreneur or you're a mom or you're a work-at-home mom or you're just a female, I highly suggest looking up Renee Christine. Her Twitter handle is @byrenee, or she has another Twitter handle which is @richmombusiness, and she is the person who did all the back-end development for our Roku channel because she has mad coding skills. Yes. So she really does. So if you decide to follow Rich Mom, Renee Christine, on Twitter, or if you decide to go to richmombusiness.com/newbestie, then you can be a bestie. Just sign up for email updates. And she and her husband do a weekly show called Funny Stuff and Cheese, which is the show that no one ever understands, so don't even try. But it's on Thursdays, and I believe it's at 6 p.m. Pacific. So anyway, just a little couple of updates and thank yous there. And we do want to, again, welcome you and thank you and let you know that we consider it a privilege to come into your homes and your earbuds and your computers and your tablets every single week. We have the most incredible, amazing audience of survivors that are thousands strong, and we hear from you every single week, and you guys are the whole reason why we do what we do. If it was not for you guys, we would not be doing any of this. And I do want to say a very special hello to our newest community, which is on Cyberdust. If you guys are not familiar with Cyberdust, you've got to figure it out. You got to just log on to cyberdust.com, find the Cyberdust app in your smartphone, and just start connecting with people. If you go to cyberdust.com, we're in the popular section, and we're providing resources for adult survivors of child sexual abuse. Yet again, just another way that people are able to reach us. So I'm just so astounded and blessed and grateful for the headway we've made in a year, less than a year and a half, Bobby. It's just amazing, huh? This started out with Rachel Thompson. Rachel Thompson wrote a book, and she started Sex Abuse Chat, which is on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, and that led to our private secret Facebook groups, which led to us reaching out to the UK, which led to another Twitter chat. And now we have a Roku TV channel and a YouTube channel and all these thousands of people that were actually supporting as they start their day, listening to helpful tips on how to live with just being a survivor of sexual abuse. Sometimes our brains work a little bit differently, and we're here to encourage you and give you helpful tips on how to tackle your day and feel better as a survivor of sexual abuse. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to dive right in. I'm going to turn it over to my amazing co-host, Bobby Parrish, and we are just going to talk about anger. Very delicate topic. Very touchy subject, and we have so much to cover. So thank you again for being here with us. We appreciate you guys so much. And Bobby, gosh, let's talk about this morning's chat.
Yes, it was a crazy one. I know we say that sometimes, but it is powerful to sit there and have tweets flow by your screen at a rate that you can't even keep up with them, because people can identify so strongly with the topic. And believe me, if there's a topic to identify strongly with, it's anger. As a survivor myself, and Athena is also a survivor if you don't know us yet, if this is your first episode to tune into, we're both survivors of childhood sexual abuse, of childhood abuse, and we're both trauma recovery coaches. So in all my work with trauma survivors, and as a survivor myself, I think one of the most difficult emotions that we struggle to deal with is anger. I think it's second only to shame in the power that it holds in our lives, how it frightens us, disarms us, scares us. And it's interesting, today during chat, we talked about, and we talked about this last week too, I think, about how survivors tend to exist in extremes, especially before we've done very much of our recovery journey. So for anger, I tend to see survivors fall into one of two camps. Either they have a very short rage trigger, and something which won't necessarily provoke a response from other people will send us into a rage in a heartbeat. And when I say rage, I mean blinding anger, saying, doing things that we can't even believe come out of our mouth. It's almost to a point where you just don't really have control over yourself. Okay, rage is always no good. That is the extreme side of anger, that if you deal with a rage problem, then it's time for some intervention before it damages you, your career, your family. And then there's also, not that far to the extreme, there are survivors where anger just bubbles underneath the surface 24/7. They're not always lashing out, they're not always saying things they regret, but they just feel that, you know, grit my teeth tension of anger that is constantly flowing underneath, just right there, ready to leap up at the slightest provocation. And then over here on this extreme are survivors who avoid anger like the plague. They don't want to see it in anyone else. They don't want to experience it in anyone else. They don't want to encounter a conflict. They don't want to feel anger themselves. Just, they will do everything they can to avoid dealing with anger and to avoid feeling angry. And you know, both of these things come from a childhood where anger is not treated in a responsible way, where we are not taught a healthy way to express anger, a healthy way to feel anger. Many of us were brought up feeling that, or being told, I was told as a child, that anger was unacceptable. You don't think it. If you even think that you're angry, that's wrong. That's a sin. If you express anger, that's doubly bad. And it's not acceptable, period. Only bad people are angry. Well, you know, that kind of bites, because then what do you do? As an adult, I have learned that anger is not negative. Anger is not a bad thing. What we do with anger can be a bad thing. Lashing out at someone physically or verbally, emotionally, is a bad thing. It's not acceptable. But just feeling anger, that's fine. And sometimes anger is very empowering. But anger itself is not negative. It's not a bad emotion. It's not something you should banish from your life, because as people talked about today in chat, when you shut down, when you shut anger out, it tends to build up and build up and build up and build up until the pressure causes it to just kind of explode all over, which is usually a pretty ugly response. Another reason that we have a hard time with anger, and this usually comes with people who are afraid of anger. I can almost guarantee that they had a bad experience with anger when they were children. When someone was angry, usually one of their caregivers, a father, a mother, a grandparent, an older sibling, when they got angry, somebody got hurt. And so anger to them represents danger, verbal abuse, physical abuse. It either happened to them or they saw it happen to one of their loved ones. And Athena has some scary stories about how anger was represented in her family, and I want to let her talk about that in a minute, because it's the perfect example of why someone would grow up not wanting to be angry. But when we're not shown as a child how to a healthy way to express anger, this is what happens. We grow up with an unhealthy fear of or investment in anger. So now maybe you've grown up and you're angry all the time. Well, there might be a good reason for you to be angry all the time. Maybe you're being taken advantage of. Maybe you're being betrayed. Those are all good reasons to be angry. But if all you learned about anger when you were a child is that A, only bad people are angry, or B, when you're angry, people get hurt, how in the world are you supposed to find a healthy way to express your anger? Of course you don't know how to. You were never taught. So I want to hand this over to Athena for a minute. I know she's busy monitoring our Twitter stream. If you want to interact with us, we're here to read your tweets and live tweet with you. Just use the hashtag #NoMoreShame. But I think it's really powerful for you when we're able to give you a personal story or experience that backs up what we're talking about. And Athena had some just very powerful experiences with anger when she was a child that I know have colored how she responds to anger now. And I want to ask her if she'll contribute here on this piece. And the phone coming out of the wall kind of stuff, you know?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure which stories you would like me to share, because I do have a...
I know you do. You have a childhood story. You're the selection.
Library. I have a plethora, if you will, of examples that I could, Vanna White, show you right now of what anger looks like. Inappropriate anger.
That's right.
Again, I would like to just, I want to preface this conversation like we normally do in all of our Twitter chats, and let you know that if you are watching this video with us and you are in crisis or you are triggered, we want you to practice excellent self-care. Sometimes the conversations we have during this broadcast are very, 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 very graphic in nature. And if you get triggered, your mouth is dry, your palms are sweaty, you're feeling sick to your stomach, please just turn it off. It's being recorded. It's on our Roku TV channel and YouTube channel for another day. Practice excellent self-care. And if you are not able to get in touch with a professional mental health worker that you work with closely, please reach out to our awesome friends at RAINN.org, and that's RAINN.org, or I believe it's 1-800-656-HOPE.
Yes! Bingo!
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
All right. I never get the phone number right, but for those of you in the UK, I know that you can still go to RAINN, RAINN.org. So, so I say all of that because I'm transitioning into a very horrific, colorful demonstration and story of inappropriate anger, and why I, as an adult, I'm 41 years old, and to this day, I if I start to feel myself getting angry or frustrated or just upset, about something that is just normal to be angry about, I just sort of black out, or I just sort of pause and I don't really know what to do. And it's quite the confusing situation for me, because when you're a child and you are raised in a domestic violence situation, or you experience, like we were talking about earlier, inappropriate anger, and anger not expressed in ways that is age appropriate, or that was abusive or violent. So normal day in the life of, I want to say from the time I was about 7 until I was 17, so for 10 solid years. You sort of never knew what kind of day it was going to be. You always got to wake up early before everybody else wakes up, because if you're not awake when everybody else wakes up, they could barge in, rip you out of bed, or really it would just be a very rude awakening. So, of course, you wake up before the sun rises, because you got to wake up before everybody and make sure the house is perfect, everything's perfect. And then as the day progressed, depending on what the chore was for the day, whether it was to work outside pulling weeds, or cleaning horse corrals, or taking care of animals, or whatever the job might be, as the day progressed, there was more alcohol consumption. And depending on whether or not one of my family members got home on time, it would be, when they did get home, there would be a lot of screaming and yelling. Where were you? Why were you late? There are usually drugs involved, alcohol, drunk driving. Who were you with? Were you cheating on me? You're just like this. You're just like so-and-so. A lot of verbal abuse going on. And then almost instantly, you could kind of tell, like, that sound. Like, there was just a sort of, you could tell the moment it was going to change. You knew that if you were going to be able to make a phone call to ask for help, or to have somebody come get you, or to call the police or something, you needed to get to the phone before you heard the next whatever is going on. So there would be a lot of cursing and screaming and throwing things. And then if I would try to run past and get to the telephone to make a phone call, to call a neighbor or the police or something, or try to call my dad to come get me, which it would take him almost an hour to get there, so I had to kind of, plan ahead. There's no planning ahead. It just is what it is. But there would often be, scurrying, or like punching or kicking, or just fighting, and then they would reach for the phone and they would yank the phone out of the wall. And so then you're stuck. Like, there's no way to leave. You can't.
There's no escape.
There's no escape. There's no cell phone. There's no such thing as a cell phone. This is
Right.
Before they even, I think this is when call waiting was just brand new or something. I don't know. But there wasn't even redial. This is back when redial was when you hit the pound button, and you hit the pound button and then it would redial somehow. I don't know. But this is back in the 80s. Obviously, I'm dating myself here. But anyway, just to give you guys a very clear picture of, I don't remember anger being displayed in an appropriate way that ever solved anything. Or, you know what, I'm angry that you did these things and I would like to discuss this with you. Okay, well, let's discuss that. Let's handle that. Okay, thank you. Well, this is what I'm frustrated about. Oh, you know what? You're right. I did do those things, and I'm such a bonehead. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Will you please just accept my apology? Okay.
Yeah.
It's
all in a foreign language in your house.
Yeah, that never happened until the conversation I just had with the air just now. The conversation about you did this, I was upset, okay, I'm sorry, yes, I forgive you, move on. That didn't happen until I had my son, and my son was old enough to understand that, we need to discuss things in a conversational tone and whatever. I definitely had some years when I was raising my son when I would lose my temper and I would rage out, and it would be over something so small, like something normal, like, leaving the light on, or like, why is this over there? And And so since I never learned how to express anger in a healthy way or frustration in a healthy way, I just sort of do nothing. I stay silent. I am very compliant or avoidant. And for those of you who have watched our teachings on boundaries, there are healthy boundaries and there are rigid boundaries, and there are, when you're a compliant avoidant, there really are, it's either a rigid boundary or no boundary. There's no flexible, healthy boundaries. So anyway, I just want to say all of that to let you guys know that, whether you grew up in an environment where there was a lot of blood and beatings and domestic violence and weapons and drugs and alcohol and threatening and screaming and yelling like I did, or if you grew up in a situation where, it was healthy, I just want to tell you that it is possible to express anger in a way that's appropriate. I now have a healthy marriage with an amazing man who, if he's frustrated with something or I'm frustrated with something, I simply let him know, like, I'm really frustrated by that. I'm really angry with you that you knew that would hurt my feelings and then you still did it. And then his response would normally be, gosh, I didn't even realize I was doing that. I'm sorry. Will you just accept my apology? And thankfully, I'm able to say, of course. I had to learn that muscle brand new. I had to reinvent the wheel 150 times. I'm speaking in hyperbole, but I had to learn from scratch because I didn't have it modeled for me. So I really just want to encourage you people out there who are new parents and you're raising young children, really model healthy communication and healthy conflict resolution skills with your children, because those types of skills pay dividends, and they will help your children to grow up to be humans that are amazing humans, that are healthy adults, and that have healthy relationships. So that's just my 2 cents on anger.
And when you hear that, and it's so easy, I think, to understand listening to what you're talking about, that scenario that you grew up in, Athena, that how in the world could you possibly be expected to grow up with a healthy concept of anger? I don't know how you would.
I just don't think it was possible. And then I don't even think I did a very good job the first several years raising my son until I realized, oh my gosh, I'm my parents. Oh gosh, no. So then I had to figure out, like, Athena, don't do that. That's a bad idea. Don't do it. Don't raise your voice. Don't freak out on your child. I mean, seriously. I wished I could have grabbed myself and just shook myself and been like, you are going to regret this, girl. Like, seriously, you are going to be upset with yourself and regret it for years and years and years. So thanks for asking me to share that, Bobby. I know I don't know. I'm grateful that I chose probably 15 or 20 years ago, like probably 15 years ago. I want to say 15 years ago, that I was going to really figure this out, get a hold of this. And one of the topics that we talked about today during chat, one of the comments that I made was, I have a difficult time expressing or feeling anger toward my abusers, whether it was sexual abuse, verbal, physical, emotional, whatever flavor of abuse you're talking about. The moment I'm in counseling or therapy or a coaching session and I am asked to describe what that feels like, or doesn't that make you angry? Isn't that bad isn't that something that would be normal to be angry about? How did that make you feel? Are you angry about that? Are you angry that those things happened? And I'll think for a second and I'll be like, yeah. And I'll get angry for just a second, and then instantly I move from anger which is normal because it was horrible. The life that the way I was raised was absolutely horrifically abusive. It was inhumane the way that myself and other family members were treated. It was horrible. But rather than me getting angry about that and being able to process my anger in a healthy way about my abuse, I go, yeah, I'm angry about it, but gosh, can you imagine what my parents must have been through? If that's how they treated me, can you imagine what they must have gone through? They probably just were repeating what was done to them. I mean, can you imagine how much worse theirs must have been? And instantly, I moved to compassion and I minimize. Because feeling the anger is too frightening.
Yes.
So, Bobby, comment on that because I know that is so common.
It
It happens with survivors a lot. It is so common.
It's very common, for feeling one's anger, justified, righteous anger, can be very powerful, and it can move us along in our recovery. But in order to get to the feeling part, we have to travel through the fear of the anger itself. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a survivor tell me, I can't do it, because I'm afraid if I tap into that anger, it will take me someplace I will never be able to get back from. Or the anger will overcome me, it will become uncontrollable, I'll hurt something, I'll hurt myself, I'll smash a plate. And when you're with a safe person, if you're deeply fearful of your anger, please don't try and delve into it on your own. Do it with a safe person. Do it with a safe friend. Do it with your coach. Do it with your therapist. Do it with a clergy person to try and tap into that anger. But I have never experienced a survivor tapping into that anger and getting just sucked completely into it and carried away like they're feared they're going to be. More often than not, with a survivor who is so fearful of anger, the way I see survivors be, it's kind of like popping a small hole in a balloon, and the balloon just kind of goes, you like my sound effects.
I love your sound effects.
And it gradually comes down. I have never, and I have to think, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I have never worked with a survivor who has been afraid of their anger and who, when tapping into it for the first time, or even the second or third, experiences something so horrible that we can't resolve it in that particular session. Yeah, they feel angry, but frankly, some of us have a whole lot to be angry about. Athena tells those stories of what happened during her childhood, and I'm angry on her behalf. I don't think anybody could listen to her tell that story and not say, girl, you have thousands of angry hours stored up that you are righteously entitled to. So I think what we fear the most is that the anger will carry us away, or that somehow it will transform us into that person that we saw use anger so badly when we were a child.
That's it. That is it, Bobby. That is it for me, because I look just like one of my abusers, and when I am upset, I look just like her, and I have the same everything, the same skin and eyes and hair and everything. And when I'm angry, and I just instantly feel like I'm morphing into that person that I would never want to be in a million years, because I know how much damage was done and how cruel and harmful and horrible all those words and actions were. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And I think we hit upon this, and we've hit upon it before when we talked about narcissistic parents, and we've talked about other things, that many survivors have a core fear, and when I make this gesture, that's mine for saying, very core fear of becoming like our abusers. It just is, and you and I talked earlier today about how we don't like that statement, hurt people, because not everyone who's been hurt hurts other people. Not every person, we don't like that myth that people who are abused as children grow up to abuse children. But that's not the case. That's a huge generalization. But it's ingrained in us, and we live in fear of becoming like our mother, like our father, like our older brother, like the person who abused us. And I think that's at the core of that anger, is that if I express my anger, if I really get a handle on it, then I'm going to be like, my father. Then I'm going to be just the same as my mother. Then I'm going to be just the same as my uncle. And it's not true, but I think in some ways you have to experience it. You have to go there in order to know that that's not true. Otherwise, the fear just kind of holds on to you and holds you captive. Yeah. And that's a lousy way to live.
It's true. It's totally true. And, you and I have talked so much about this, just even off the air, that I want to delve into that. I really do. Like, I want to, I remember when I was going through coaching, when I very, 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 very first started having memories just this past time, about a year and a half ago, I was seeing, she was a survivor actually, and she was a coach, and she was an awesome mentor to me. She tried to create a safe place for me in person. It was specifically the session that we were going to be working on anger. And she had an anger pillow and, asked all of the appropriate questions, but I wasn't able to access it. It was just not there. It was just missing. There was no anger. None.
Yeah. I've been there, with therapists who have given me a plastic bat and say, okay, just beat the heck out of the sofa. Yeah, no. That doesn't tap into my anger. What that makes me feel is conspicuous and embarrassed. And, of course, like a failure because I can't do what the therapist wants me to do. And that's okay. We tap into things when, hopefully most of the time when it's, when the timing is right and when the circumstances are right. I think the only time that I really push for intervention in anger issues is when there's rage involved, and when there's an abuse involved. If there's an issue of domestic violence, if there's an issue of you abusing partners, abusing your children with your anger, that's a mandatory intervention kind of time. You really need to start. You really need some help at that point. But otherwise, I think it's okay to let yourself go in the direction that your healing is going, and when it's time for anger to be dealt with, it will happen. But forcing it doesn't usually work really well. As survivors, we're generally not really good when we're backed into a corner. And when someone demands that we work on our anger now, that feels like backed into a corner.
Yeah, I mean, I have a desire to work on my anger, but I just can't. I would be horrible as an actress, I think, because I can't just cry on cue or get angry on cue, or I could get compassionate on cue, okay, ready, set, compassion. I could do that. Okay, yes. We're headed to our one page, our awesome content that Bobby writes and I make pretty.
And I don't know how to make this one big. Athena, do you?
there's a little, over next to the printer button up at the top right, there are 4 arrows pointing out to all 4 squares. If you hit that, it should make it big, and then you can get out of it by pressing escape.
That's not it, though, is it?
Maybe not. How about escape?
Matt made it little.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I think it's just fine, just the way it is. It looks beautiful.
We shall do this. And this top portion here, we have basically kind of talked our way through most of it. Is it still screen sharing?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
You're doing
I thought maybe since I pressed the escape button, it stopped. Okay, anger. Again, this is an emotion that survivors struggle with. We tend to go from one extreme to the other, meaning that anger is either all bad, all fearful, and we avoid it like the plague, or it's constantly simmering underneath our surface, or it has moved over into a time when we rage at people around us for, I mean, rage is never appropriate, but for the smallest of tiniest things, we will lose control of our emotion. And there are even people who will be, the rage will be so intense that they won't have any memory of it afterward. And then we talked about why, why do we struggle with anger so much? We struggle with anger because it was never shown to us how an example of what a healthy expression of anger was. Or we were told that anger was bad, that only bad people were angry. In my case, it was anger is a sin. And even just to think an angry thought was sinful. So, when that's the case, when that's what you're taught, yeah, it's going to be really hard to feel angry. For some survivors, it's not about even, they can feel the anger, but they have no clue in the world how to express it. And so that's when it's important for us to learn some healthy anger resolution skills. And Athena gave you some good examples earlier when she talked about, anger is simply an emotion that tells us something. Our emotions are messengers. They're here to tell us something. When I feel angry about something, that usually means that I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling betrayed, I'm feeling mistreated, I'm feeling a sense of injustice. So those are the things that you need to talk about. Those are the conversations that start with, I'm feeling angry when I heard you call, our friend John an idiot. And I want to talk about that. Okay, there's nothing angry in my tone of voice. There's nothing, I'm not demanding, I'm not in their face. The anger has told me, my anger has told me I need to resolve this. I'm not feeling good about this. That doesn't mean that the anger has to always translate into behaviors that we associate with anger. Voices don't have to be raised. You don't have to be in close proximity to somebody. You don't have to be in their face. It's just letting us know we need to communicate about this, and that's it. Expression of anger to be healthy doesn't have to include behaviors we normally associate with anger. Going down to the bottom part of the one page, as you work in your recovery to find healthy ways to access and express your anger, remember these truths. Okay? Our abuse lies to us about a lot of things. It lies to us about what anger is, what anger looks like, whether anger is acceptable or not. So here are some universal truths about anger that we want you to carry forward. And the first one, and we've talked about this already, but it bears repeating, anger is not a bad or negative emotion. It's a healthy response to injustice or mistreatment. There is nothing wrong with feeling angry. And like I said a little bit ago, many of us have many, many things that we have a right to be angry about. And that's okay. I have survivors, when I ask them questions like, are you angry with your abuser for how they treated you? No, 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 I love him, I love him. Okay, but you can be angry with someone and still love them. Anger doesn't mean you don't love somebody. And yet we have had such a negative connotation attached to anger that we see it as mutually exclusive of caring for somebody. You can be angry, you can feel angry about how someone treated you, but still love them and still be in relationship with them. That's okay. You don't have to choose one or the other.
That's the confusing part for people that lived in that have been raised in violent situations, because anger is mutually exclusive of love for them.
Yes, right. And then so therein lies the truth that what they interpret as anger was abuse. And I see this a lot, especially in domestic violence situations, where you have the whole abuse cycle, where there's the honeymoon phase after the partner it has been abused. And yes, you can love someone who abuses you. You can. The person who is abusing you, that's where we have a hard time with understanding, if you love this person, why are you being abusive? But yeah, if you, it's okay to get in touch with your anger about how someone treated you. It doesn't mean you have to stop loving them. It doesn't mean you have to stop caring about them. If you choose, if you realize that someone has been so abusive to you that you don't want to be in a relationship with them, that's okay. But you don't have to, just because you experience for the first time that anger that has been yours to claim for so many years. Accessing and expressing anger can be very empowering in your recovery when it's done in a healthy way. And I want to combine this with a bullet point down below that says the key to resolving anger is accessing the root of its cause. Anger is often what we call a secondary emotion, meaning that it covers for another powerful emotion like hurt and sadness. Oftentimes, when someone strikes out in anger, they strike out in anger because they feel hurt. But feeling hurt and expressing hurt feels so vulnerable that anger is the more comfortable emotion. But when you can tap into your anger and express it appropriately, then all of a sudden you can get to the emotion that was behind it. So if I can tap into my anger about what my abuser did to me for all the years that he did, then I can more easily, I can get that anger out of the way and uncover all the hurt and pain that's underneath it. But as long as I don't touch that anger, as long as I let that anger sit there, it does tend to cloud our vision and cloud our access to that hurt underneath it. So feeling that anger can be empowering, and it can set you free in a lot of different ways. We talked about that a little bit in chat this morning, Athena, but I don't know that we talked a whole lot about it.
We did. We
brought it up too much.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. You know what it felt this morning felt like? It felt more like people were. It was so interesting. We never know how the chat is going to go.
Yes.
You can say tomato, tomato, potato, potato, niche, niche. You know, you could put a topic up, and different people are gonna they're going to hear it a different way. They're going to express themselves a different way.
Right.
And our chat this morning, which is geared, Monday mornings U.S. time, is geared towards our UK audience because it's the evening for them on Mondays. Now, we do have a lot of people from the U.S. that work nights that end up attending our Monday chats, which are at 7 a.m. Hawaii time, 10 a.m. Pacific, and 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
So what I was going to say was, the way I was trying to get all the time zones in there, good Lord. So what I was going to say was, the way our chat started off this morning, which caught me off guard, I was surprised, but it flowed, and it just surprised me. It's never done this before. Everybody saw that the topic was anger, and it was really amazing what I watched unfold. The first person showed up and said, the topic is anger. Well, I'm angry about this, and I'm angry that my abuse happened, and I'm angry that I never showed my anger, and I'm angry that I live with the pain of knowing that my innocence was stolen from me. I am angry that the man that tortured me for 10 solid years in my bedroom lives a happy life with his wife and children. I'm angry that I can't have intimacy with my husband, and that every relationship is tainted and ruined because of my uncle who molested me for 15 years.
Right.
Or, I mean, just people showed up and they expressed what it was that they were angry about. And that's not how I had anticipated the chat was going to go. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't think there were going to be that many conversations. I thought it was going to be, okay, so what is anger? Is it appropriate? Is it okay? Is it not okay? I thought it was going to be a little bit more clinical, but it was so raw and so real and so authentic and transparent that I was just so touched and moved by the level of compassion and transparency of our community, that it was just the most beautiful expression of love and kindness amongst everyone that was there. It was so beautiful.
But it did go right to the hard stuff.
It went immediately to the hard stuff. We went from 0 to 300 miles an hour in about 0.5 seconds flat.
Yes.
It wasn't like it was so welcome everyone. This is our weekly child sex abuse question time. How's everybody doing? I mean, it wasn't even like that. It was just like, anger? Let me tell you what I'm angry about. But it was so wonderful to see so many people just dive in with their arms wide open. And you know what? Me too. Me too. I feel that too. That happened to me also. Wow, I never heard it said like that before. Wow, that is a really neat way of looking at that. Oh, I never thought of that before. Wow, this is really hard for me. Oh, I'm sorry, this is hard. I mean, everybody was just so, just to watch our community interact with one another. I just, sometimes, do you ever just do that, Bobby? Do you ever just sit back and sort of look at everyone being so supportive and compassionate and just go, wow, this is really, this is amazing. Like that's just, I sort of had that going on this morning. It was very organic.
Yeah.
There's that word again.
It's a very powerful community. It really is. If you want to, we would love for you to stop by one of our 2 chats. Mondays at 10 o'clock Pacific. Tuesday nights, using the hashtag Sex Abuse Chat, is at 6 p.m. on Tuesday nights Pacific time. Even if all you want to do is watch, we invite you to come on over and just watch. Just do a search for the hashtag and watch the Twitter stream as it flows across your screen. I tell people it's magical, and that sounds kind of silly, but it is. It's really powerful to see survivors connect with each other and finally feel for the first time understood, and like they're not some freak who's isolated in this corner of the world, and nobody will ever understand what they've gone through. Nobody will ever understand what they think or feel. It is, it's very powerful, and it's been the cornerstone of why we do everything that we do, and it's one of the big reasons why we think community is such a powerful healer. in the childhood abuse realm and in the realm of trauma recovery. It's good stuff, and it's free, and it's there. We're there every week, twice a week, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I thought it was really amazing that it was on, you know how we talk about guided communication, Bobby? Like how sometimes if we have a hard time communicating about something, when there's guided communication, it makes communicating what it is that you're going through. Like in conflict resolution, we oftentimes will use guided communication techniques. I honestly felt like the topic of anger, this is so indicative of where I am in the whole anger spectrum, but I felt like the topic of anger was something that I was not going to be able to engage in. It was something I felt was almost off limits to me, and I didn't want to go there. I was subconsciously and like just in my own mind going, okay, well, I'm going to come this morning. I'm going to greet everyone. I'm going to retweet. I'm going to show compassion and support. And I automatically told myself that I was not probably ever going to type out the words, you know what I'm angry about? I'm angry about this. But I almost felt like everybody sort of gave me permission to say, you know what? Losing my innocence at such a young age was really horrible, and it makes me angry. And I'm angry that I didn't grow up in a healthy environment, and I'm angry that I don't have any memory of being a virgin, and you know, all the just the different things that we as adult survivors of child sex abuse can be angry about. I almost felt like today's chat was very instrumental in giving myself permission to feel the feelings that are natural.
right.
I know that sounds a little like it's all about me, but I'm not meaning it to be that way at all. I just I just felt it was so helpful for me.
But see, that's the example. That's the perfect example of the power of community. When we see other people doing something that we've been afraid to do, and they're not bursting into flames, a lightning bolt is not hitting them from on high because it's a horrible sin. They're expressing their anger in a healthy way, and you know what? It's a good thing. And people are congratulating them, and no one's shaming them. I think I can do it too. You know, that right there is the power of community in healing. And that's why I wish that we could make it available to more people in a more consistent basis. And we're working on it, but not quite yet.
We are. You guys, I just need to point out, Bobby, while the one page is still up on your screen, I just want to point out a couple of things to our people who are tuning in live or listening, or actually not our podcast listeners, but our viewers on Roku TV or on YouTube. We want to thank you for reaching out to us and giving us all of your suggestions and communicating with us and telling us how you're feeling and all of that. If we don't get back to you right away, it is because each of us has 500 emails in our inbox. If you will look up at Bobby's top of the left screen there, she has 558 emails in her inbox, and I do too. So we love you guys, and we love that you communicate with us, and we're two women that want to change the world. And now we have the most amazing Stacy ever, the best Stacy ever on Twitter, who has joined our team. And of course, you all know that we have Rachel Thompson, best-selling award-winning author, and just all these amazing things. We're publishing books, and anyway, we're doing all that we possibly can. And we have an Indiegogo campaign right now, which if you all have not checked it out, we have an Indiegogo campaign, and we have links. If you'd like a link, let us know. We'll put it in the show notes. And we want to have more conferences that are going to be coming your way. So this is just one of the ways. This where you're at right now, watching this. This is just one of the ways that that we're able to provide support for adult survivors of child sex abuse. And on that note, I just again want to let you know that as a thank you for being one of our loyal listeners or viewers, we want to give you complimentary access to our entire library of downloadable resources, whether it be written, audio, video, what have you. All you got to do is go to traumarecoveryuniversity.com or nomoreshameproject.com and click on the tab at the top that says downloadables. And in like 30 seconds, you're given instant access to our entire library of downloadable resources. There's also a button that says video library, and you can have access to all of our videos. So we are just so grateful for you guys. You guys are the whole reason that we do this. And I do feel like after our chat this morning, like I have permission to sort of explore my anger, Bobby. I need to do that.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I do. I need to do that. I need to do it. I mean, it's not like I rage. I don't feel like I've raged out in a really long time. Like that's not something that's happened in a really long time. But I have done this thing in my brain where rage and anger are connected. They're synonymous. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think I'm afraid that if I were to express any anger, that it will lead to rage. And therefore, I know that I have, everyone has, everyone feels anger as a normal emotion, such as happiness or joy or peace or gratitude. I mean, all these different emotions that we have, God gave us all of them. And the only thing we're told, whatever higher power you believe in, I happen to believe in God, and I feel like we are given that as an emotion, as a gift, because it's there for a reason to let us know when something's not quite right.
Right.
And
our emotions
rage, obviously. Yeah, rage is not one that we are that we are proponents of. We are not proponents of rage. We know that rage is never, as it says here on our one page, never a healthy expression of anger. But let us know how you feel about this episode and if it was helpful to you. And if it was, share this video and give it a thumbs up.
You bet.
So that we can continue to give you free resources every week.
I think the only ones we haven't actually shared or said out loud from the list, but we've already talked about them, is that abuse survivors have a right to be angry about how they were treated. Okay, you have a right to your anger. It's justified. It's understandable. There's nothing wrong or shameful with your being angry. There's just not. Absolutely not. If someone tells you that, then that's someone with whom you don't need to discuss the topic of anger anymore because their perception is not going to be helpful for you. Then, which is what Rachel just said, rage is never a healthy expression of anger. Never, never, never. And bump right down to the last one that says if you have a consistent problem with expressing anger in a way that hurts you or your loved ones and your loved ones, it's time to consider getting anger management intervention. And then bump back up one bullet. I should have put those two together, but I didn't. The key to resolving anger is accessing the root of its cause. Okay? Again, anger is usually considered to be a secondary emotion. It's covering something else, and it's usually covering a very powerful sense of hurt or very powerful sadness. And so once we've expressed our anger, we can get to what's underneath it. And when we get to what's underneath it, then that anger disappears. It's not needed anymore. It served its function. So there we go with the one page. And I'm going to click stop here. Yay! I'm back.
Hi, I can see your face again. I love this so much better where we can actually interact with one another and see each other.
I know. Do we want to put up contact information, or have we gone too long as it is?
Well, if we have ran a few minutes over, everyone, and if you already know our contact information and you know about our weekly schedule of events, then feel free to go ahead and tune out now. And thank you for tuning in for another episode of Trauma Recovery University with me, Athena Moberg, and Bobby Parrish. And if you are in need of our contact information or our weekly schedule of events, then go ahead and stay on with us for another 5 minutes or so, and we'll share that with you right now.
Yay!
Awesome.
Okay, so this is our schedule of events. Again, we've talked about the 2 Twitter chats, CSAQT, Child Sexual Abuse Question Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time in the U.S., and that is at 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. This is the one that we started just in the beginning of this. Was it the end of last year, Athena, that we started this?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was the end of 2014, and
Right.
then and it was for our UK audience. We're officially international, and we have a couple of the people from Australia and New Zealand now as well.
Right. But as Athena said, people who perhaps work evenings or have children that are in school at that time and they have the freedom to be able to drop into that chat, you're more than welcome. It is not certainly exclusive to anyone. Tuesday nights, use the hashtag #SexAbuseChat. That's at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or if you're up and you are not sleeping, you can join in. That's 2 a.m. in the UK. We are here doing this Google Hangout every Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. If you're up in the UK, that's 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning. And you can watch these 24/7 on Roku TV on our channel, Trauma Recovery University. You can also go to YouTube, and our channel there is called Trauma Recovery University. You can watch all of the videos that way as well. We have multiple private secret Facebook support groups. If you would like to join one of them, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and we will help you get plugged in to the one that works the best for you. We have ones of mixed gender, single gender, and we try not to bring in too many people to one group or the other at one time. So we'll help you get connected with the one that's right for you. If you want to connect with us, here's our contact information. On Twitter, I am Truth is Hers. Athena is Athena Moberg. And then there is Trauma Recovery U. To contact me via email, I'm at bobbylparish@gmail.com. Athena is Athena at athenamoberg.com. I have my website, bobbyparish.com. Athena is at athenamoberg.com. And then we have traumarecoveryuniversity.com. On Facebook, we have a page for Trauma Recovery University. Athena has a page for her coaching business, Athena Moberg fan page. I have a page now for my coaching business. It's Bobby Parish Coaching and Consulting. And then we have our personal pages, which you are more than welcome to connect with us and friend us. I'm at bobby.parish, and Athena is at Dawn Athena Moberg. So there you go. And I read it out to you in case you're listening to us on a podcast. But don't stop to write things down and get into an accident. Just pop onto the YouTube channel or the Roku channel when you get a chance, and all the information's there. Or you can just go to Trauma Recovery U, bobbyparish.com, athenamoberg.com, and get all of our information there too.
Yeah, we're really grateful for you guys tuning in with us every single week. We want to remind you that our annual anthology that will be released during No More Shame November, we are still accepting submissions, and you can go to traumarecoveryuniversity.com and click on the tab that says book and read all of the submission information, and we really hope to receive some essays from you. This year's title, or it's not the title, together, as in community. So the theme of your essays and works of poetry and prose will be how being in community with other survivors has helped you during your recovery journey. So we really hope that you will take the time to submit. We have several people last year that had multiple submissions for Discovering True. If you're interested in that anthology, we just got it picked up by Book Trope. And as Bobby was saying in previous episodes and earlier, Book Trope has agreed to continue to publish our annual anthologies for the foreseeable future. So very exciting news there.
Very exciting news.
Yay.
It's awesome to have a publisher.
And the best Stacy ever is helping us with our live events. First weekend in June, Atlanta, Georgia. Last weekend in June, Portland, Oregon. So our Indiegogo campaign is, of course, to try to get you even more live events, more conferences, because we are doing what you guys are telling us you want us to do. You request in-person conferences and events and workshops, and that's what we want to give you. So share our Indiegogo link if, in fact, you have seen our Indiegogo campaign. And if you have not seen the link or the campaign, ask us. We will give it to you personally, and we appreciate your support. Anything else, Bobby?
I can't think of anything. We'll be here next week.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about EMDR.
Oh, yes. Oh, we're going to talk about EMDR, and it will be our very first Google Hangout on Air live broadcast for YouTube and Roku talking about EMDR, because last year we only did a Twitter chat. And so we're going to be next week's topic on both Twitter chats as well as our live broadcasts will be EMDR. So I'm really excited to share some insights about that with you, and just thank you for tuning in for another week of Trauma Recovery University. We appreciate you guys so much. And I'm Athena Moberg, and this is Bobby Parrish, and we just love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.